Hi, and welcome to the third episode of Talking Fertility, where I will be coming to you live every Monday morning at 11 a.m, talking all things fertility. Now, I've been speaking to be live, and hopefully we have some things sorted today so that I am streaming a little better. Give me a thumbs up or even a wow if you can see this stream going okay, because that would be really wow for me. I know we've had some jumpy issues. Oh, thank you very much there. So today I'm going to be talking about a nutrient that I think we all hear a lot about, but may not realise the importance of this nutrient, particularly in fertility. In fact, this nutrient is so important in the body for general health and fertility that it's actually even referred to as a pro-hormone due to its widespread activity within the body. Yet, unfortunately, I personally find that all of my Fertility for You patients are deficient in this nutrient, to varying degrees, of course, but it's something I really want to get on top of as soon as possible, and I'll go into the reasons why it is important to get onto as soon as possible, and it is very widespread in people who are struggling with fertility, and I'll go into the reasons why that is a bit later, but it's vitamin D. Now, I think we're all aware of the role in vitamin D in bone health. Vitamin D supports the absorption of calcium into bone, which is, of course, very important in healthy bone turnover and bone strength and bone growth. So it is very important for our bones. But it also plays a very important role in fertility. And this is largely due to its role in hormone production and regulation. And I know I spoke a little bit about hormone production and regulation in the last episode when I talked about male fertility, and it's also a similar regulatory cycle in female fertility, and vitamin D is very involved in that regulation and that production, which of course impaired hormone production and regulation impairs the reproductive cycle and impairs your ability to fall pregnant and carry a healthy pregnancy. So vitamin D is very much involved in that hormone regulation and balance. And as I mentioned, from my personal experience, I find that it's extremely common, but it is an extremely common condition in general. Vitamin D deficiency is found in a widespread people, but particularly when you are trying to fall pregnant. And a study out of Yale University School of Medicine actually showed that 93% of infertile women were deficient in vitamin D. And a recent review of the current data relating to the impact that vitamin D has on fertility showed that healthy vitamin D levels improve fertility, improve the ability to fall pregnant, and improve the ability to hold and carry a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby, which is what we're all wanting. So vitamin D is vitally important through all of the stages, helping you conceive all the way through pregnancy and to have the healthy baby as well. Vitamin D levels, healthy vitamin D levels, are associated with a higher rate of successful pregnancy, whether it's a natural conception or also in women undergoing IVF. And studies have shown that this can be whether they're using their own eggs or also via embryo donation, because it may be due to its role in improving implantation and improving the immune balance to support the acceptance of the embryo. Because vitamin D is very much involved in the immune system, and the immune system is very much involved in a healthy conception and pregnancy. Because the reality is, whether you're using your own eggs or whether you're using donor sperm or donor eggs or you're using your partner or husband's sperm, there is an element of someone else's DNA in your body. It's very important for the immune system, who is used to attacking foreign material, to be balanced and regulated to recognize that DNA as healthy DNA that we need to nourish, not attack. So I'll be talking more about the immune system and its role in conception and fertility in the next Conceive Baby webinar. So be sure to join me for that. I'll be talking with the head of Reproductive Immunology Research Group at the University of Adelaide's Robertson Research Institute. Her name's Professor Sarah Robertson. And she'll be discussing the role of the immune system to support a healthy conception and pregnancy. So I'll tell you a few more details about later on and put links below so you can register for that one. But talking about vitamin D supplementation has also been found to be effective in improving fertility issues related to polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, particularly in relation to that blood sugar balance, the insulin resistance, the sugar cravings, the weight gain that is associated with PCOS. Due to its role in the hormonal regulation, vitamin D can be particularly important for that. Also, its role in endometriosis as well. So any conditions where there is an impact on hormone balance, vitamin D is definitely indicated there. The other thing about vitamin D, I mentioned that, it's sometimes called a pro-hormone. It is a very unique prenatal nutrient. Of course, we know it's so important. Well, we've just discussed how important it is for fertility, for improving our chances of falling pregnant. And of course, we go back to the bone health. It's very important during pregnancy for creating those wonderfully healthy bones and teeth, which will hold our children in good stead later on. But it is a unique nutrient in that vitamin D deficiency during pregnancy will be passed on to your baby. Now, with most nutrients, the baby will take everything it needs. It will leach minerals literally out of your bones if it needs to and leave you very depleted, but your baby will be getting enough. Whereas vitamin D, the deficiency is actually passed on to the infant. And unfortunately, deficiency is much harder to correct and rectify after birth than it is prior to. So it is really important to improve our levels and ensure we've got healthy levels prior to conception to improve our chances of falling pregnant and holding a healthy pregnancy, but also for the long-term health of our future baby as well. So deficiency in the infant and also in pregnancy can impact the short and long-term health of your future baby. And side effects include growth retardation, low birth weight, premature labour, and reduced health, of course, of the bones and teeth in the infant as well. So studies also link vitamin D to, in the infant, to a range of disorders in the child longer term, including diabetes and neurological disorders. So this can impact them later in life as well. So really important if you are starting out and wanting to conceive that vitamin D is something that you look at and get healthy levels as soon as you possibly can, which is what I spoke about before, is why I like to get people checked as soon as you possibly can so you can help to rectify this deficiency and give your baby the best start in life. And another reason I like to start early, checking vitamin D levels, is because, again, it is a bit unique. Unlike some nutrients, which are water-soluble, like your vitamin C's and your B vitamins, with the water-soluble vitamin C's and things like that, if you have a supplement or you have a meal rich in vitamin C, your levels will be up almost immediately and metabolize into your bloodstream, and will notice the difference in your levels fairly much straight away. But with vitamin D, it's a fat-soluble nutrient. And that actually means it can take a long time. It can take months before deficiency is rectified. So recognizing that you are deficient and improving your intake of vitamin D or your metabolism of vitamin D is very important as soon as you can. I say it all the time. If you've seen it in the other webinars, you are already nourishing all that precious DNA that has the potential to become your future child. So the nourishing and the nurturing doesn't start when you become pregnant. In fact, sometimes it can be too late, depending on what the issue is. So you are already nourishing all that DNA, particularly in those special 90 days prior to when the follicle is developing from an immature follicle to a mature egg, ready for release at ovulation. You are nourishing that baby already, that future baby already. So getting your vitamin D levels corrected is definitely an important part of that journey. The good news is that checking your levels is really easy. It's just a matter of asking your GP for a simple blood test to check your levels and get a report. And once you have a report of where your vitamin D levels are, I do recommend seeing someone like myself or your naturopath who can properly analyse that report and recommend the best supplementation for you. Now, there are some general guidelines apply, but I do find a lot of GPs will give you a bottle and say 1,000 IU, 1 tablet a day. But that sort of dose I recommend for people who pretty much already have healthy levels. That is to help maintain, to keep that baseline of vitamin D. We know how important it is. We don't want to be deficient. So that sort of dose is more to help correct minor deficiencies or to just to boost your intake in general. 4,000 IU has been found to be a bit of a sweet spot in a lot of studies. They are using 4,000 to help get these good results that I'm talking about. But in saying that, some studies are using up to 20,000 IU quite safely and effectively. So some people do need a lot more than others, but working with someone like myself or your naturopath can help to get you in that right level, because as a fat-soluble nutrient, it's also really important not to take too much of a fat-soluble nutrient as well. Although that's very rare in vitamin D, it's still a factor. It's still, you won't be metabolizing it out of your system. So it's important to get that balance right for you and get healthy levels for you, ideally prior to conceiving. And yes, of course, we all know that vitamin D is the sunshine nutrient. Our best natural source of vitamin D is sunshine. So getting outdoors, getting some sunlight every day is really important to helping to support healthy vitamin D levels. And you think in Australia, we'd be getting plenty of sunshine, although probably not so much in Melbourne. It's looking a bit gloomy out there today, even though it is summer. But of course, in Australia, in other places as well, that all-important slip, slop, flat message that we have. The use of protective sunscreens, which is obviously a very valid message. You know, our risk of skin cancer is real. So we want to protect ourselves from that risk. But unfortunately, on the flip side of that, using those sunscreens also impairs our body's ability to get and metabolize vitamin D from sunshine. So current Australian and New Zealand guidelines actually recommend supplementation over sun exposure, particularly during those critical preconception and pregnancy periods, because it is so vital for the health of the mum, for the health of the baby, and your ability to fall pregnant. So supplementation, I always, recommend dietary sources and natural sources wherever possible. But in this case, again, quite a unique nutrient. Supplementation is often necessary. And the other thing about sunlight and why we don't, we can't just go out and say, everyone get half an hour of sunlight a day and that'll be your vitamin D. Because there's so many other variables in that. Are you living in Melbourne where it can be sunny one day and gloomy the next? Are you in the Gold Coast where it may be beautiful bright sunlight and half an hour in the middle of the day you're getting plenty of vitamin D? And how high is the UV that day? What are the UVA and UVB rays? So it depends where in the world you are, what time of month it is, what time of year it is, what time of day it is. And also, as goes for a lot of things in the human body, we are all metabolically different. So our ability to metabolize vitamin D from sunshine varies greatly. For some people, 15 minutes a day might be sufficient and they get all the vitamin D they need just jumping out for 15 minutes a day. But for other people, there's some studies that are showing that some women metabolize no vitamin D at all during the winter months when the sunlight is low. And they're probably very low metabolizers of vitamin D and need a lot more sun exposure to get that vitamin D. So because of the risk associated with too much sun exposure, it's really hard to tell everyone to get out and get that same amount of sun exposure, because what could be okay for one will actually be harmful to another. So in some cases, if you are deficient, supplementation can be very beneficial. And again, I talk about dietary sources a lot because I'm a big lover of getting our nutrients from dietary sources. But vitamin D is not your normal vitamin. Dietary sources are actually very limited of vitamin D. One of your best dietary sources of vitamin D is cod or cod liver oil. And I know my mum used to give my brother and I a tablespoon of cod liver oil every morning over the winter months. I actually really used to love it. I now really don't know why, that old high pole emulsion. I don't know if anyone else used to have that as well. it really doesn't taste delicious at all. I think that was just my 5-year-old brain. But another reason why I don't always recommend cod liver oil as a best supplementary source, not only because it tastes terrible, but also because it contains a lot of vitamin A. Vitamin A is very good for the immune system, so works well with vitamin D, so great for your kids when wanting to support their immune system, but you don't want to be taking a lot of vitamin A during pregnancy. So cod liver oil shouldn't be used as your primary source. It can be used as an A source, but it shouldn't be used as your primary source of vitamin D. There are other good sources, salmon and dairy. It's probably one of your highest sources of vitamin D. But unfortunately with dairy, as I've spoken about in some other webinars, particularly when you're dealing with endometriosis and some of those other conditions, dairy is actually, best to just avoid in those conditions. So you don't want to be encouraging a lot of dairy intake in someone who has endometriosis because of the inflammation and inflammatory condition associated with that disease or condition. So dietary sources, unfortunately, aren't as be-all and end-all as some of your other nutrients. So again, supplementation and sun exposure really become important. And although I guess mentioned the harmful effects of sun exposure, it doesn't mean I don't want you to be getting out there and getting some outdoor sunshine. I mean, not only, of course, it helps with our vitamin D, but it also helps with mood regulation, lifting our mood, reducing stress levels, seasonal affective disorder. So getting out and getting some sunshine, getting some fresh air. Personally, I love being outdoors. Anyone who knows me, I'm definitely outdoors wherever possible. So a lot of other benefits to being outdoors other than just vitamin D. So definitely getting some sunlight, getting your levels checked. So something you can go out and do today, again, and get your levels checked if you don't know where your levels are. And supplementation are your best ways to help improve your intake and improve your fertility. So I guess that's probably in a nutshell of vitamin D, and hopefully I've helped you understand the importance of vitamin D a bit better. And hopefully if you don't know where your vitamin D levels lie, I've encouraged you to go out and get your vitamin D levels checked so you can start to help improve those levels, which can have a significant impact on your ability to fall pregnant and have a happy, healthy baby, which is what we're all looking for. And before I sign off, I'll mention a little bit more about the upcoming Conceive Baby webinar, which I briefly mentioned before, where I will be talking to Professor Sarah Robertson about immune regulation in fertility and conception. And Professor Sarah Robertson, as I mentioned, is the head of reproductive immunology group at the Robinson Research Institute at the University of Adelaide. So Professor Robinson, I think she's amazing, the research she's doing. She's internationally renowned for her research into reproductive immunology in relation to both male and female immune response, because there is indication in both male and female immune response there. So some really fascinating insights coming up there, and that will be live and free on the 27th of March. So 12:30 p.m, that's Melbourne time. Anyone coming to us elsewhere, that's 12:30 p.m. Melbourne time. So I'll put the link to register for the webinar below. So be sure to pop your details in there and join us for that exciting discussion. So as always, if you can't attend live, if the time doesn't suit you, don't worry. I will be sending the replay link out to everyone who registers. So pop your details in there free of charge, and I will be sending out that replay link if you can't join us live. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope we have been streaming better and you can hear and actually see me better today. And I have made you a little bit more aware of the importance of vitamin D and ways you can start improving your levels and start boosting your fertility today. So as always, remember, I do base these Talking Fertility topics on what you want to know. So remember, keep letting me know, what are you currently struggling with? What would you like to know more about, or what would you like more support with for your personal journey? So feel free to comment below or join the discussion over in the Facebook group if you haven't joined us in there already, or send me an email through tashajennings.com.au. So thanks again, and thank you for being involved and helping me help you in your fertility journey.